Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys and gals. Let me get a sip of my water first. My beautiful radio voice going. Let's talk about this. Thought I would do a video for you about failure, mainly because I've made videos discussing failure a lot, but I'm going to throw some demonstrations in here in a bit of me hitting failure, because I'm doing failure on over half of my sets every week. Probably the majority at this point. The ones I don't get to failure, I get within 1 rep of failure, or I do a little bit of rest pause. But I do quite a few sets to failure, to where either the weight stops moving or form breaks down. So we need to understand, anytime the weight just stops with good form, and you just simply, the weight stops, not because you cramped up or it hurt and you couldn't push through, right? That's a problem. Like if you can't push through the last couple reps to get to failure, that's an issue. Because failure means you're still straining, you might be straining a little bit, and then the weight just simply will not move. Okay, that's it. Now if you cheat or something, that's failure, you failed. So if you have to change your form, so even like you guys will see me on skull crushers, that's a perfect example. That's an exercise you wouldn't want to hit failure itself on, so I'll take it to technical failure. Right? Which means it's coming down that I can't get that last rep. So instead of just doing this, I'll do this. A little bit of a pullover because I can't complete the rep and I don't want to hit my face. Right? Now a lot of lifts, bench or a squat, it's hard because it's going to hit the pins if you hit failure. So we might take a short breather, a few seconds, and squeeze out one more rep if we think we can get it, just to avoid hitting the pins. That's still going to pretty much count because you're still at 0 reps in reserve. But usually the weight just stops moving. But what I tell people, don't cheat in order to get there, like by swinging, okay? Only on an exercise to where like the weight is going to hit your face. The weight is going to staple you. That makes sense to shift just a little bit to get that last rep, but you shouldn't be swinging. So in other words, on a curl, on a row, on a pull-up, don't start swinging to do it because you're not getting the training. So you need to understand that is purely done for safety purposes if it's a lift where the weight's going to hit you. It's not helping you grow. That rep doesn't count really. It's a failed rep. Understand the difference. So you shouldn't be doing it on an exercise to where you can just turn loose or the weight's just going to drop and it's not going to crush you or hit your face or land on your chest or staple you. Don't cheat. Just the rep just doesn't finish, right? Your pull-up just let it drop. Your curl just let it drop, okay? That's what I'm talking about. That is what you want to do, and that's muscle failure, okay? Because why? The muscle is no longer able to recruit. But I think on at least one of these sets I'm going to show you guys see me definitely straining. You can see my face. It is starting to burn. It is starting to hurt. All right. A lot of people, and this is problematic, they will stop short because of as soon as some people feel a strain or if they feel a really intense pump or the muscle starting to cramp, they just quit. That is not going to work. That's not acceptable. You're not going to effectively do what you're trying to do that way, right? You're not going to achieve it that way because you're falling short. Therefore, it's a lower quality set. You're going to have to do more volume to make up for that. So if you're trying to be really efficient with your training, like what you see me doing, literally 6 sets of muscle group a week, every one of those sets better have a very pronounced muscle growth stimulus. This is what you need to have. You need to have that. It needs to happen. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to just have to do more volume. So again, this whole idea of just normal straight sets to failure. Don't necessarily have to do rest pause. You don't need to do drop sets. You don't have to do any of that. I would argue a lot of that isn't as effective as people think it is if we go upon the way that we know that muscle fibers recruit, what causes muscle growth, right? Because you're just re-hitting, how do I put it? You're hitting muscle fibers again that are not going to grow because they may be near their growth potential anyways. So as we start to get more and more advanced, we are trying to get to the upper threshold muscle fibers. And we're only getting those by reaching very close to failure, okay? Or nearly maximum weights, but it's kind of hard to get enough reps to grow from maximum weights. It would count as 1 good rep, that's it. So this is what we're trying to achieve. If we need to get to those muscle fibers, if we want to keep growing if we're no longer a novice lifter. So really the only people that it almost even makes sense to do a lot of that stuff for, either people using a lot of stuff or maybe somewhat novice lifters. Outside of that, straight sets just taken to right at failure or very, very close, either the failure or within 0 reps in reserve. That's really going to be your money spot for a set for set basis. And then that lets you cut your volumes down and get a few more exercises in if you need to, so that you get a wider variety of stimulus, so that we can get the most muscle growth possible. Okay. Another thing you don't want to do, I always tell people, it's not failure. Like, let's say you're benching. Guys will shift under a weight. You know, they're benching, right? And they'll get, and then they do this and they slide under it. Okay. I would ask someone doing that, is your goal to look like that guy Reggie? I think it was Reggie from Lady in the Water, where he just only worked out one side of his body. That's a good way to achieve that look. If you want to be imbalanced, you want your right pec, your right tricep, your right bicep, you want all of that bigger than the left, train like that. Shift under the weight. Shift under the weight like that. Do the same thing when you row and everything else. Use all of that shifting and sliding. It'll imbalance you, because now the hardest reps are being taken almost entirely by one side. So one side of the body will always get a larger training stimulus on every single set. Not a good thing. And it's usually the side that's already bigger and stronger. So if you're slightly imbalanced, you can go ahead and make it more imbalanced. Don't do that. But I'm going to go ahead and flip in some examples of me hitting failure for you guys. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys and gals next time.